The longer I continue to do this, whether it's podcasting or mortgage brokering, I continue to come back to the same concept that simple scales. You see, there's so many routes you can go in this business, but the tried and true method of creating relationships with referral partners will always be the go to method to scale quickly, in my honest opinion. Today's guest is proof of that, as he's been in the business for a short 3 years, only to have found himself scaling to 46 mil a year. All right, so how did he do that? Well, by locking himself in a room for 30 days and banging out a bunch of realtor meetings. From there, he started pivoting to other referral partners such as lawyers and financial advisors, but not until he had his stable base of referral partners and leads coming in, and that's when he made the switch. In my opinion, he's followed the perfect journey to scaling quickly while only working 25 hours a week. If you're new to the show, my name's Tom Moffat, and I'm joined by my good buddy, business partner, and co host, Brandon Love. Whether you're new in the industry or a seasoned vet, you will get specific takeaways from every episode, as we're both active in the mortgage biz as mortgage brokers, testing new strategies to then share to our audience, you. If that sounds like your cup of tea, make sure to hit the subscribe button if you're on YouTube, or follow us on whatever podcast platform so you don't miss out on next week's episode. Now, with all that being said, let's dive right into it.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Commission Breath. Brandon Love here with Tom Moffat, and we have a special guest. He's back again for his second round on the pod. Jeff Mudrick, thanks for joining us. You came out of the gates like a racehorse, and you just recently shared a post about doing over 100 million in your first 3 years. So we wanted to dive deep on some of that stuff and just learn more about where you're at.
Let's do it. Happy to be back, fellas. Round two.
You're the first double header here, buddy.
No way.
Yeah, you're the first one back for the second time. Yeah.
That's a true honor. Got to give away all the good stuff then.
Yeah, all the details. For all those people who asked Jeff for his email and are looking for more insights, he's going to spill all the beans here. He promised.
There you go. All right, let's kick it off, man. So, for listeners that haven't heard the first episode, why don't we just give like a brief background as to how you got into the industry and really how you found that success right away?
Yeah, sure. So I got into the industry like this time, 2021, and was working in healthcare for years and years and years. A buddy of mine got laid off during COVID, got into mortgages, kind of. And he's like, Jeff, I think you'd be good at this. I'm like, what does that mean? I don't know what a mortgage is. Really, like I saw a paycheck and I was like, yeah, I think I would be good at this too. Started listening to Scott Beckford's podcast, just got hooked on that. If I think I'm going to like something, I'm 100% in on it. Started listening to the podcast on my way to and from work on the GO train every day, and joined Scott's brokerage when it opened up. It wasn't rocket science. Scott was saying, hey, do this. So I did that. And then he said, okay, now I do this. And I just did that and fell in love with like the marketing and sales aspect of things and learned to broker along the way.
Nice. We were talking about that before we hit record, that like we could tell you exactly what steps to follow to get to at least 10 million. You just have to do them. And the barrier for so many people, it's like, you could tell me how to get a six pack, but I'm probably not going to skip my pint on Friday night or the bottle of wine on Saturday. The certain steps that people pull out of the process are what screw them up.
100%.
Yeah.
That's like one of the biggest things I've noticed, and people reaching out asking for help. And like, everyone says it too. Brian Wiley talks about it all the time. It's like, hey, you called 10 realtors, it didn't work. And then people stop, as opposed to calling the other 40 that's on the list. Like, keep going. You just got to keep battling through. It's easier said than done, but that's what's going to make you successful in the industry.
Yeah, I think like a lot of the tactics and what you can do to build your book, it's simple but not easy. And it's not easy in regards to people don't like to cold call, people don't like rejection. I get that, but the barrier to entry is so low in this business, and as long as you just keep at it and you follow what's proven and what's been done before, then you will see at least get to that 10 mil mark and beyond, which is what you did. And so why don't we talk a bit about like what were some of the activities that you started with and started seeing those leads come in?
Yeah, sure. So first and foremost, like I took a little bit of a different approach, where I think everyone kind of says like, hey, when you become a mortgage broker, you just shout it from the rooftops and the leads are going to fall into your lap. I said, I don't want to do that. I do not want to do my family or friends' mortgages right now, because I don't know what I'm doing. And I just had that full imposter syndrome and I just did not want to do it. So instead, I took the opposite approach of like, I'm going to call a random stranger, which was realtors, and I can definitely talk to them about why they should send me their leads. Like, I didn't really have family or friends in the industry. So I posted something on Facebook, got like a list of a couple hundred realtor names, and just started calling. First call I made, still to this day, the realtor's name is Darcy, and it was the worst conversation I've ever had in my life. And I'll just do a quick reenactment for you. Hey, Darcy. Hey, yes, who's this? Hey, my name's Jeff. I got your name from this person who's said some things about you, and wondering if you want to come to a presentation. He's like, nope. I'm like, okay, bye. And hung up the phone, ran downstairs, laughed with my wife about it because it was the silliest thing, and then came up and then just continued to call like many, many more people. The cool thing though is that fourth person I called after Darcy is like still one of my best referral partners I have to date. So it like, there are many more Darcy-like stories where the phone calls didn't go well, but there's a lot of success stories as well.
Do you
Yeah.
remember what had you get back into the room to make the next dials? Like what the thought was in your head?
I think I literally just had a list of like 20 realtors that I was calling, and Darcy happened to be one. So I don't know. Yeah, good question. Just needed that laugh it off with the wife first.
Yeah. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't be too serious with it, right? And you had this list that you wanted to complete. You told yourself, I'm going to get to that 20, see how it goes, and build from there. I love it.
Sometimes just laughing it off, that little reset really helps out, even if you have like a buddy or if you're just starting, have like an accountability partner. So you could be like, I talked to the biggest asshole today who thinks they're like hot shit. And then like 3 years later, now we talk to realtors all the time. And we know like even the ones who talk a big game, they're just like regular people. It's all this air of like, whatever. But when you're first getting into it, you're like, oh, this person's a high producer, like maybe I should talk to the newbie person. But it's like, that's the wrong approach. Go for the big guns right away, get as many as you can as quickly as you can, and just build from there.
100%. If newer agents reach out to me now and they're like, what would you do if you were me today? I would do the same thing that I did, just get a list and call them. But I actually would take Brandon. Like, I love what you did. I don't know if you did this on purpose or not, but I would now, the way I would say is like, if you're super uncomfortable calling people in your network or calling people in your area, pick somewhere far away. Sure, stay in Ontario, maybe go to Sarnia or somewhere like that. Start dialing those people, and whether if they turn out, amazing. If not, what a great opportunity to practice, and then, get rid of some of the, you know, the bad cobwebs off, and then focus on your local area.
Exactly. That's what I did. For anyone who doesn't know my story, is I'm in Milton area and I had another business here. I was kind of like, I don't want to have like this, oh, he's a local farmer and then he's a mortgage guy too. So I was like, fuck this. Like there's too much cross pollution or whatever there. So I went to Sarnia because properties were cheap, but the industry was really strong. And I just worked that market. And it's still a big part of our business right now.
Yeah.
It still produces a lot for us, but it was just like getting my training wheels off and getting comfortable. It was an area that I could actually work, and it worked out quite nicely for me. I would recommend that as well. There is a lot of, when you talk about like picking up the phone and trying to do like a triangle of trust, trying to do that, when you go to a secondary market, there's a lot of people are like, who the hell are you? Why would we use you when you're not local? So you do have to have a different level of like objection handling there, but eventually you'll get it.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. I feel like with every market, you're going to have these like little objections that you need to overcome. But that's why the more you call, we all went through like the same training program. It's like that ping pong game, right? Just like bouncing back and forth, an objection, and you're gonna reply, serve it back. Like it's gonna come more naturally the more you do it. But you know, we all grew up in the industry making phone calls. If I were to restart today, that is 100% the approach I would take. Like if I'm looking to source new realtor partners or any referral partner, I will pick up the phone and call that person because I really don't think people do it anymore. So like to get in front of someone or to talk to someone and
Especially
build that
now.
relationship early. Yeah, no one does it.
Definitely less phone calls going out. Like, so I'm a new agent. I'm coming to you. I'm like, hey, Jeff, I want to do exactly what you did. I want to have the success you did. How many presentations do you think I need to do? Like, what do you think the minimum is? Obviously, everyone's different in presentation skills and how you can conduct proper pitch. But do you think there's a baseline there for what an agent should be doing in their first year?
I would say in the first like 3 months, minimum's like 50 presentations. If you want to hit 10 mil, you got to do 50 presentations in the first 2 months of being a mortgage agent, or maybe 3 months of being an agent after you get all the admin stuff like sorted out. Minimum, and that's probably 100 or 150 phone calls to get those 50 presentations. But not only because those presentations are going to help you generate business, but because those 150 phone calls are going to set you up for success when you have to make those tough client calls, when we're going to underwrite a file completely incorrectly, you have to tell the client and you got to come in and save the day, and you get that pit in the feeling of your stomach. Those 150 calls that you made to realtors will help. Those calls to clients or to underwriters, like just getting comfortable on the phone is so important.
For sure. There's also something to be said about closing that gap. So not doing like 100 in the first year, but doing 50 in 3 months. Because like Tom, you and I had this experience as well. You get so dialed in on your presentation
Yeah.
that by the end of it, you're like, okay, I know starting this meeting that by the end of it, they're going to be sending me a lead, if not today, in the next couple of weeks, because I'm just so dialed in with what I'm saying. Whereas if you spread that out and you do one a week, you'll never get that rhythm in.
Yeah. And the other thing
Yeah.
too is I was doing some of like the realtor presentation coaching. And one thing I started to preach was you can have the absolute best presentation in the world and absolutely crush it and have the realtor fall in love with you. But if you're not following up with that referral partner once or twice a week, you're losing that relationship because Tom's going to call that person, also have a kick ass presentation and follow up. So your presentation can be amazing or terrible, doesn't matter. You got to just crush the follow up and have an execution strategy with how you're going to do it and how you're going to stay consistent with it.
So I have an idea of what your follow up is, but why don't you kind of talk about the cadence of what you do to stay top of mind? And do you still do that, or did you tweak it along the 3 or 4 years that you've been in the business for?
Yeah. So first year, I called those realtor partners every 3 weeks, unless we were working on a live deal. Then I was in communication with them anyways. And then I would send them a video every single Friday. Still do that today. I don't call everyone anymore, but it was every 3 weeks, either Tuesday or a Wednesday. I just kind of probably alternate. And probably 50% of the time, maybe more, they didn't answer, just left a voicemail. I called Darcy for a year, that guy who I had a terrible presentation with. Still has yet to call me back. I will get a lead from him at some point, but not yet. And there's been such amazing stories. Well, I think they're amazing stories of people who are just on that Friday email list will just start randomly sending me deals. This is a year or 2 or 3 later. And my goal is just I want to showcase my process to them, my response time, my team's response time, the budgeting, the video breakdowns, and the realtors are CC'd throughout the whole process. So once they see it, whenever that is, if it's in the first month or year, the goal is that they then will convert to being full-time Jeff as their mortgage broker users.
Get them hooked on it, right?
Last couple of years, I've just tweaked it. So phone calls have died off, but texting has gone up and just sending a few other emails has also gone up. And something that I found super helpful to showcase my process now. One of my Friday videos a little while ago was something to the effect of like, hey, I'm getting a lot of business from my database. Do you want to see what I do to market to the database? And almost every realtor, that was like one of the most responded videos,
Yeah, I could see that.
something like that. And they all want on it. So now for the first 8 weeks or 2 months, they got 2 emails from me a week and they wanted it. They wanted at least that one. I don't know if they want the Friday one every time, but it is what it is. Then I sent out another email, do whatever you want with this. But I found with my Friday video, I feel I could have the absolute most important information in the world for a realtor partner. And if it didn't have the word rate or didn't have the
Yeah.
word like qualify in it, the view count was like quite low. So I sent another Friday video out, being like, do you want to know like what's happening with interest rates? Everyone responds, absolutely, keep me posted, even though like it doesn't really matter to a realtor. But anyways, so then I started sending out like biweekly rates. And again, like the view count on those is through the roof. The response to that is through the roof. And the engagement is through the roof. So just continuing to like tweak what the realtor partners want. Even though if I don't find it valuable for them, if they find it valuable, it is what it is.
Funny you say that, man. Like we found the exact same thing. Like any rate update or anything regarding rates, like the open rate and the response rate is super high because we use EM just like yourself too. I love that angle, adding them to your own master database. It sounds like that's what you're doing. You're adding them to your
100%.
client database or master database. And then when you're dripping them, is there a cadence there, or is it whenever you do your email manually to your database, they're just included on it?
They're included, but again, like, so I put it in the Facebook post. I think we talked about this before we came on, but as soon as a client enters my mortgage world, they're on a drip for the first 8 weeks. Every week for 8 weeks, they'll get an email from me. First one is something like, hey, get to know me, like reintroduction. After having a discovery call with the client, they'll get an email from me the following Monday that just says, hey, reintro. And I give clients an option to have a phone call or a Zoom call as a discovery call. No matter what they choose, they'll still get a video of me afterwards, just walking them through my process again and introducing my team members, talking about like who I am outside of mortgages as well. It just continues to build. So the realtor partners were put on that those first 8 weeks. And they're also put on anytime I use like a little bit of like a sniper rifle approach to like variable rate holders or to people in a 2 year term or to B clients, whatever. They're also on those more like targeted emails as well. Because then they use it. Like I've seen the amount of time that video has been viewed. Like I sent it to 40 people. It's been viewed like 86 times. Like what's going on? So I imagine the realtor partners are forwarding it along, which I'll take.
Mm. Yeah, that's the best. So your cadence, you're doing the Friday video. That biweekly rate update, is that in addition to your Friday, or are you just flipping your Friday video so it's now a rate update?
Oh, it's in addition.
Okay.
Every week's a Friday video, every week, no matter what. And then usually it's every other Monday or Tuesday is the rate update. It's the simplest email in the world. I had a lot of brokers who were on that email list for a while and they added me to theirs and they like took the information but made it into like a bomb. Like it just looks very different, you know? Mine is literally
Mhm.
like, hey, less than 20% down. Here's what the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 year term is, and whether or not it's an increase or decrease from the last time I sent you this rate update. And I do with 20% plus 30-year AM. Those are the two options I give. The simplest thing to read. I'll usually go on Instagram after, and it's just realtors green screening what I sent them. And sometimes they tag me, and sometimes not, but it's just so simple and not like spammy that I think that's why I haven't had any unsubscribes from that to date.
Yeah, I
Love
love
it.
that, like, quick hits. It's super consumable. Yeah, exactly. They just wanna throw it on Instagram. There's really no value to them in, like, a sales cycle or
Nothing.
anything like that, that I'm aware of. Maybe if a realtor's listening, tell us what you're using. But, yeah, I love that there's potentially a period for 8 weeks where every other week they're gonna hear from you 3 times.
Yeah. Plus, every fourth week, they're going to get another email from me because I market to my full database. Plus, another time, they're going to get like a sniper rifle. Like it's all throughout. They can't not get my emails in their inbox. Like they'll see my name, which is my only goal.
Just because I know listeners are going to ask this question in their head, what CRM are you using for your drip campaign, specifically when they come into your world, the clients?
I don't know if people are going to love it or hate it, but to keep things as simple as possible, I'm using a spreadsheet, my friend. That is it.
Okay, so if I'm client A coming into your world, I'm booking a discovery call, you're manually sending out every single one?
I have a note in my calendar every Friday is like new client sorter time. Like I have half an hour to sort through all the discovery calls I had for the week. It's also nice to track leads, which I've never really done. Copy and
Mhm.
paste their email address into like a YAM style of spreadsheet. And then after I send them that email on the Monday, because you can schedule send YAMs, so I'll have it all prepped. Then I'll just drag them over to week 2 of the drip and then do
Gotcha.
that for 8 weeks. But CRM I use is Broker Edge. The sniper rifle approach and the monthly emails is all sent through Broker Edge. But those first 8 weeks, I want it to be the least spammy possible. And that's
Yeah.
why I do that. You guys know how YAM works. And if your listeners don't know, you can get super, super creative with how to make it look very one to one. So I'll have things like, hey, my process. And then I have step one, bracket, first name and Jeff have a discovery call. And then it's checked off. Great. Step two, first name completes mortgage applications. Like it's all very particular. And then I'll have maybe little notes that say for each client, you can have another column that says like notes, or that's what I do at least. And then in the email, hey, it was great chatting with you about note. So good luck with your pregnancy or like stuff like that that takes me 4 seconds to include, but I imagine makes it feel more one to one than anything.
Yeah, so you're probably all in. Did you mention half hour a week doing that?
Maybe, man. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. If
There you
that.
go, man. Yeah, that's well worth your time because it sounds like your existing book right now is turning over a lot of closed business for you this year, right?
Yeah, so that's what I was going to talk about as well. So you guys asked me before I came on, like, where are the bulk of the referrals coming from? Is it from like the monthly marketing? I said, no, it's like from those first 8 weeks, because throughout those 8 weeks, there are some like mini asks in there as well. I know I've listened to Commission Breath enough to know that Brandon loves a good ask. Mine are
Love it.
probably not aggressive. Mine are probably not as
No, you can
forthcoming.
say
Yeah,
it.
mine are not as aggressive.
Give me a
Uh,
lead.
yeah, but I do it in my own way. It works for me, and it has been working. So, like, I think week 3, week 6, and week 8 all have like a little ask in there, something along the lines of like, hey, like, how exciting is it? You're pre-approved. Who have you told you're pre-approved? Like stuff like that. It's kind of just that firm ask that I feel still super uncomfortable with.
Yeah, there's a time and place for it. I don't do the hard ask as much as I used to. When I was working with Stevie D more, he would be like, "You got to do the throw the hard ask in there." So sometimes he'd be like, "Hey, you got anyone for me?" And I'm like, and now I'm a little bit more. I don't know. Maybe I'll go back to it though. It was pretty good for a bit.
I feel like I'm transitioning into the old Brandon. Like on my commitment email, my approval email in my template, I just added this. P.S. You've been awesome to work with. Who else can I help with their mortgage that you know? Like something
Yeah,
like that. It's like pretty like direct to the point, like, hey, let me know. So yeah, it's funny how it
Yeah,
works.
mine have been complete opposite. Like I kind of do it in like a two-step approach. Who have you told? Like, is your family excited or your friends like jealous that you're pre-approved? And when they reply with like, "Oh yeah, they're all," I'm like, "Oh well, what's their name? What's their email address?" Not like that, but
yeah,
like,
Nice.
just
Nice.
have more of a conversation around it, or I'll pick up the phone and have like a nice like, "Oh, it's so exciting,
Cool.
good for you."
I like that. I like kind of burying it a little bit. But Tom, I think yours is working because you have gotten more leads and applications the past couple of weeks than me. So maybe,
I'm keeping it, man. That's the only hard ask I do nowadays. And I don't even do it. It's templated. So
So
set it
yeah,
and forget it.
I'm a
Yeah.
little soft in the summer. I find I'm too nice to people. It's too much sunshine.
Oh, I think I'll eventually transition to a more hard ask kind of guy. I think like the goal is to like get out of the business more. And I think in order to get out of the business more,
Yeah.
need to build the business up a bunch. So hopefully that's one way to do it.
Yeah. On that topic, your business has transitioned quite a bit from 3 years ago. Just kind of going back to some of your notes from that post, but you were working 7 days a week, full days, till now you're closer to what, like 25 hours a week, is it?
Yeah, like 20 to 25, you got it.
Yeah, so significant reduction there in freeing up your time. Your sales have increased dramatically, and then also your source of deals has really changed. So used to be all realtors. That's kind of the school we grew up in. But now you have that client base, which that client journey you shared there, I think anyone implements that, that's going to turn into deals right away. But FAs and lawyers is one where you get a lot of business where I don't think very many brokers get that from. So can we touch on a little bit on what you're doing there?
Yeah, 100%. So started in the end of 2022. So I was like a year and a half ish into the industry. And I was like, I'm a shiny object kind of guy. I think everyone is at some point. And I
Mhm.
took a course. The course had like 6 sessions. And it was like the second or third session that I just like, oh shit, this makes sense to me. I get it. So I didn't pay attention to the other 5, unfortunately. I'm sure there was tons of great content there, but just one just really hit with me. And it was the idea of like trying to go after other people's book of business as opposed to going after the individual realtor or individual FA. Take it, put it in my hands. Like I want the opportunity to try to get business from your database. So the idea is essentially build a ton of trust and show a ton of value to these FAs and lawyers and explain why giving you access to their full book is beneficial to them. So it was like a huge learning curve because it's very different than realtor partners. Although I'm sure you could probably implement something similar with realtors. I haven't tried, but it's again all built on a spreadsheet and having these FAs or lawyers like give you their book and you track for opportunities to try to mine their database for them. It's different because I found that it was a big transition for me. So FAs and lawyers, realtors, I can get on a Zoom call presentation easily. They'll happily engage. They're like people. They're people persons. I don't know, whatever that word is. With FAs and lawyers, I started doing some presentations and the feedback was like, meh. So I started just to like cut some of the fluff and just had a very direct conversation with both FAs and realtors. And that seemed to get a way better response with like, hey, this is what I do for my FA partners or lawyer partners. If you want something like this, let me know. For me, it was over the phone, most of it. And then I would send a follow up video, just
Okay.
walking them through the process.
Interesting. In
Yeah.
that phone call, was that like the first reach out phone call, or are you saying, hey, you reached out over the phone, booked a separate phone call, and then pitched them there?
Just reach out over the phone. Yeah.
Interesting.
You're pitching call 1?
Pitching right when I got on the phone, right when I got on the call. It was a 5-minute phone call with everyone.
And they were receptive to that.
Yeah. Once you get through their admin, they're receptive. If you can manage their admin, maybe that's why they trust that 5-minute phone call.
Were these completely cold or were they the triangle of trust that you were calling?
So I did 2 approaches. For FAs, I sent an email out that said, hey, I'm looking for a financial advisor or financial planner to help out a client. Do you have anyone that you can recommend? Send that out to everyone. Got like 80 or 90 or I don't even know how many names. Deleted all the ones that said at rbc.com as their domain, and then just started calling through the list. They were like my past clients. So, hey, Tom said I needed to touch base and let's talk. With lawyers, I took a different approach. I was like a year and a half in the industry. I went through all of my deals and what lawyers the clients use and just started calling them.
Because then you have the experience of a closed file together. You can obviously weed out some ones
Yeah.
that are shit shows, but they at least should, in theory, know who you are, or you'll get
Yeah.
past the clerk who's likely the gatekeeper in that relationship. I love how 2 minutes ago you said that you don't do the hard ask, and then you pivot
To
to FAs
clients.
and lawyers. You pitch on the first call.
Oh, I had to, man. I started with like I sent emails, let's set up a call, let's like, and it was just like no
Yeah.
response. So
Interesting. So, like, what got them to be receptive? Like, I have an idea of like one of your value adds, but was it the mortgage tracker that you were doing that, or the mortgage monitor that you were doing that they loved, or was it a different value add?
the mortgage monitor, they had to learn to love because it's a lot of work on their or their admin's team to get started. And to be honest, it has faded a lot since I initially pitched it because if it's not kept up to date, then we're working with bad information. And when I'm reaching out to the FA to be like, hey, client Y has an opportunity like that might not be accurate, it kind of wasting my time. And I don't like wasting my time and their time, their client's time, all that. So the big one too is just the amount of MPP referrals that I would give away.
So you're actually giving them your MPP leads before they give you any reciprocal business?
Yeah, the key to their heart was trying to figure out like what they want. I started with, again, you guys all know this too, like the idea it's like 5 big value adds, 6 big value adds to pitch to these FAs. A lot of them are fluff, and I just kind of had to get rid of that for my business. So it was 2. It was the mortgage monitor program and the opportunity to send them MPP leads. I was working with a ton of first-time home buyers who some had great financial advisors and some had none. So I kind of pitched it as, hey, I'll send you this insurance lead. Maybe you make a few bucks there, but you have the opportunity to, keep these clients as customers for life. So kind of leave that in your hands. And
Nice.
that's what kind of got them started.
You're supplying the main source of leads. So then obviously there's some reciprocity if the opportunity comes back the other way. And for them, it's a big source of business. So they're happy to do things that require more labor, like your monitoring program, things like that, where it's more labor for them.
Yeah, it is. And I found that everyone loves the idea of it because it's a one-time setup in a way. And they'll have somebody, not them, no one's like on their payroll that's doing it, is providing them opportunities to reach out to their database with great news in a hard time. Everyone loved it, but the implementation of it was
Yeah.
definitely challenging. And we talked about this a little bit. I did like tons of presentations, 20 or 30 or maybe now like 40 presentations. And I found out of those 40, I have 3 amazing FAs who I have their book of business and I can market to and I can
Mhm.
find opportunities. But it took those like high number of presentations to get those 3 that I now work with consistently.
So, out of those three, did you send all three an MPP referral before you started seeing that business come in?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure like it took a little while to get. Some people would update the mortgage monitoring like spreadsheet, but not have information that is like so vital. So
Yeah.
it took a lot of coaching and phone calls. And I've never been out for a lunch with a realtor, but I've done it with FAs now
FAs love
because
it. Yeah.
they love a good lunch. Love it.
Yeah. They're old school. So, like with the MPP, how do you pick and choose who you like? Do you do research up front? Like, okay, you got this list of 40 you pitched to. I have an MPP lead that came in today. Are you seeing who's been in the business longer to try to sniper rifle the ones that might have a bigger book?
And I wish you give me way too much credit, man. It's like a fly by the seat of my pants. I look at a list and be like, haven't sent them. Or they sent me a lead and I'll do that. I didn't have a strategy. I'd also like send them a ton of videos too, which has definitely died down.
Right.
But those who are opening it and engaging with it got way more of those MPP leads than the people who didn't open.
That's interesting. Obviously, you got really good at selling MPP in order to really make this work.
doesn't even matter about selling MPP. Like it's more so just, hey, if you want insurance, here, talk to this person. Like the MPP is a good excuse to get in because the FAs can understand that and understand that it is a bit of a flawed product and they can offer a better product. But whether or not the client actually has accepted MPP is like, doesn't really matter. It's like the fluff kind of. And it's more so, I would definitely recommend getting some life insurance, having a conversation about it. Here is this person who can hopefully help you out.
Nice.
Do you have that on a drip campaign? Is that part of
No, I
it?
don't. Maybe that's a ninth. That'd be a good
Yeah.
one.
Yeah, it'd be a good one. Tee
That's
it
a good
up.
point. Yeah.
And what about for your lawyers? How did you get those on board? Like I know a little bit because you had actually coached me for a bit on using this strategy, and I did it, and I ended up getting a lot of law clerk mortgages for that time, which was good. It was nice. I
Yeah.
never like broke through the barrier to get the lawyers to send the deals.
With the lawyers, it's again just from when I started to where it ended. It's not even ended, where it's progressed to today is just 180-degree difference. So I started kind of pitching the same thing. I never did a formal presentation for them. It was always over the phone, followed up with a video, walking them through my mortgage monitoring program and why it's valuable to them and to give them a ton of refi business. But I found like lawyers just did not track any of this. Never, ever, ever. And to try to convince them, one, that they should be tracking it, two, when they track it, put it in the spreadsheet, and three, hey, you get all of your leads from 1,000 different mortgage brokers, but only send all of those people to me. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Why would they do that? If we're both working with the same lawyer, that lawyer is uploading Brandon's clients into my spreadsheet. Hey, so it's huge conflict of interest, and that's why it didn't really work for me. Instead, it was started with that. Some lawyers did it. I called them, how's it going? Jeff, it's a lot of work. My admin can't find this piece of information. So it transitioned to just a complete like relationship referral. That's it.
Okay.
It's just based on a relationship now. Some you still use the spreadsheet, but again, it's just not all the correct information's in there. And instead of putting my time and energy into trying to get them to do something I want, again, just like with realtors, and there's still be rate updates. Whatever the lawyers need, I'll kind of gear my advice or tips or strategies into like what they're asking about.
Interesting. I was thinking about this a little bit of like what kind of value add can you give lawyers? And I see a lot of lawyers trying to not get more mortgage business, but they're always trying to like sell wills. So I was thinking about doing some sort of campaign to get will business for them. And then in turn it
100%.
generates goodwill, good one. It gets it gets the reciprocity for them to send some deals the other way as well.
Yeah, like it's such a good idea. Most clients, part of our, hey, you're approved, now what? We do talk about life insurance. We talk about will. We talk about don't get credit check, like just a bunch of stuff like that, but also like action items. And I've had a lot of people ask, like, hey, where do I get this from? I'm like, that lawyer that I recommended, they will do it for you.
Yeah.
So just you have to ask because sometimes the lawyers aren't great at asking or advising on that. So just prepping the client for some of these conversations.
Love it. So, Jeff, what's coming next for you?
I was just gonna
Oh,
ask
great
that.
question. Year 4, baby. I don't know. I kind of put in the post that the goal is to kind of continue to weed myself out of the business. I think that's a long-term goal. It's not going to happen this year. My goal that I have been avoiding for 2 years now is the idea of building a brand, probably via social media. It's something that I never, ever, ever post. And I feel like, I don't know if it's hurting, but it's definitely not helping the business. So I know it makes sense to be the next step. So probably I'm going to find a way to go all in on that. Once my brain like clicks that it's time to go all in, I will go all in on it. Just hasn't clicked yet. Building a brand, again, trying to get like my personal life and business life separate, meaning like getting a different cell phone number for the business. Maybe hiring, I'm not sure yet. I think all mortgage brokers go through the same thing of like letting go is hard.
Yeah.
I don't know how you guys feel about that, but putting your trust
I'm
in
okay
someone
with it. I'm okay to let go. But I know
else.
most, yeah, they like to have control over certain things.
I'm better now that I have Tom because he forces me to just like relinquish control. But sometimes I'm like, oh, this email came in at 8 o'clock at night. I'm not doing anything. I'll answer it. But I'm like, no, that should be handled by fulfillment. So I'm going to leave
Yeah.
it and just be Ruined my whole night.
Yeah. It's interesting. I was out with my daughter on Saturday at like 3:30 in the afternoon, and it's just her and I going to get ice cream, walking down like the main street of the town where we live in. Phone rings. I look. She goes, "Daddy, you can answer." I'm like, "No." She's like, "Why not?" I'm like, "Because it's Saturday. I'm with you. I don't answer my
Nice.
work calls on the weekend." And she was
Yeah.
like, she kind of looked up and she probably thought like, "You've always fucking answered work calls on the weekend. Like, what are you talking about?" But it's just like, it's like a moment for me that's like, I don't need that. If the client is stressed about something, like maybe we're not the right fit. One more thing about that in a sec, but maybe we're not the right fit, or like it can wait until Monday. Still have an unlistened to voicemail from the Saturday. So
Well, good for you for recognizing that. I think most people wouldn't, and they kind of get in that trap, never-ending wheel of just like letting their life seep into their business and not really separating the two. And like for your plans on kind of stepping out of the business over time, do you plan on hiring traditional setups like underwriting, or do you plan on like having a team of agents who can take those leads and run with it? Like, have you thought about which direction you wanted to go with that?
no, I have not yet. Managing a team for me right now is not something that I am all in on. I think right now it would be more, let's hire like a full time underwriter to take a client after a discovery call and then have fulfillment. So it's kind of like a one call with a client and
Yeah.
move on from there. That's where I am right now. It could change, but that's kind of what I'm thinking.
That's in line with where we're at as well. Like we like the lead generation, initial discovery call. We want to hand it off, and then we have fantastic fulfillment as well. So we're like, it's just that middle part of the journey where you get like the
Yeah.
100 questions on every little thing.
Yeah, over the last year, I think a lot of the things I do that is beneficial to the business are completely selfish things. Like the reason why I have that 8-week drip campaign is because I kept getting so many freaking questions from clients in those first month or two. And instead of answering every individual client, I want to get out ahead of it so I don't have to answer
Yeah.
it. And hey, it's a lot better for the business. So I kind of do things that I know are beneficial, but they are selfish. Like they're doing it because I don't want to continuously answer the same stuff.
Yeah. I love that.
We're probably going to add in some sort of like similar sequence with the drip campaign because we've got a lot of ideas in our head to just like simplify and smooth out the process with common questions. Having that drip would be sweet. So yeah, you've inspired us to do that. We're running the top of the hour here, but would love to hear. I think you mentioned it briefly, your no-go list, and maybe talk about that and how that's helped you stay focused.
Oh, 100%. This is my favorite thing in the world. So every client and I, we go through a fit check. Does it make sense for us to work together? We had that conversation twice. One is on that initial discovery call. I'm like, hey, tell me what your goal is. Hey, I want to get pre-approved. Awesome. My goal is to make sure that we're the right fit for one another. If we're not the right fit, we can kind of hang up. Right? I say it way more gently than this. As you know, I'm not aggressive in the ask, but this is my thought process at least. If we're not the right fit, let's hang up now. I don't want to like waste our time. Or, hey, if we're not the right fit, here's the person who is the right fit. Here's a link to their calendar. Book a call.
Oh, I like that.
Super quick and easy. That's a fit check. Number two, one of the drips is about being the right fit and talking about who I work with. Who are the clients I work with? They're first time homebuyers, first time investors, or I don't say this in the email, but kind of very high net worth BFS. So BFS that qualify on the A side. I don't do maybe one B
Yeah.
deal a year, maybe not really. So my clients are all the exact same. They're all pretty high income earners, established in their career, and all purchasing a property in and around the GTA or refining a property or like switching lenders, but it's the same client over and over and over again.
Nice. That's the dream.
I will say this here, like I'm not an amazing underwriter at all. I would say I'm in the bottom third of underwriters of mortgage brokers, but I work with 3 lenders and I know their policies kind of enough to get by with the clients that I work with.
Yeah, or you with those 3 lenders, you send enough volume that when you screw up on the policy or misinterpret it, they're willing to work with you towards a solution, which I think is worth its weight versus being able to know the policies of 20 other lenders who it might work with.
One of these, I'll get an email. Jeff, did you actually mean to do this?
Yeah,
Yep, I did. Thank
I know
you. Thank you,
exactly who you're
underwriter.
talking about.
I love those.
Yeah,
We have that same underwriter, I think. 'Cause
yeah.
Yeah.
Got a phone call yesterday from him. Did you mean this? Yep. I did.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Jeff, it's been awesome to have you on. Like, it's blows my mind to watch your journey. I got to see it from pretty much day one, from when you joined ILMB Mortgage Pros, and see the ways your business has grown in scale. And we're really grateful. And I'm sure the Commission Breath audience is grateful for you coming on and sharing this with us. I know the key takeaways for us is really changing that drip campaign and having that initial 8-week cycle to stop the questions and getting inundated with the same things over and over again. And I think it's a huge way to generate leads as well. So thanks so much for coming on, Jeff.
Always happy to be back for a third. Let's get a hat trick going at some next
Glad to
year.
see
Can't
you.
wait.
We will do a hat trick for sure.
Yeah. Perfect. Thanks, fellas.
Beautiful. Nice, Jeff.